Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9-to-5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising. You'll get to a certain point where you're absolutely exhausted and you just want to figure out what are the 3 proven areas that make your side hustle the most successful as possible, and doing it in a way that gets you there most efficiently and also with the least amount of let's call it trauma. Well, because you are constantly moving forward and you're an executive in a company or you're a small business owner and you're feeling stuck and you realize that you want to try to do everything. And because you're trying to do everything, actually things are not moving in the progress or making the progress that you expect them to make. It's because you're trying to focus on everything. And one of the lessons that I learned in corporate life, right? Because I mentioned before many times that, managing large businesses, $100 million businesses, and having many people that reported to me, things like that. There's a certain point where you have to really use your focus. And so today I want to talk about the 3 proven areas that make your side hustle, when you focus on them, not just focus on them, but drive the activity that helps to support them. Focusing on these 3 proven areas that make your side hustle successful will also help you feel a lot less exhausted, help you feel much more in control, and move you in the right direction. And so as I started thinking about this is really about the corporate lesson that I learned that I applied to my small business and now help my clients today figure this kind of stuff out, is really focusing on a framework. And this is a framework that I'm going to share with you. So stick around for the framework, but because when you focus on it, it's going to really literally make your side hustle more successful, because it's the exact same one that I use. Like, how did I make my side hustle successful? Was by focusing on this framework, right? And so I think about being back in my corporate days. I'm in my late 30s, almost 40, right? And I am transitioning from where I was in a role where I had lots of responsibility in a remote sales motion. A lot of people call it inside sales, they call it commercial sales, whatever today, and moving from that into a field sales organization. But before I moved into a field sales organization, this was the area where my team was a big team, and we were working with some of the largest companies that you can imagine. I'm talking like the really big companies globally around the world, whether those are companies like British Petroleum, BP, or Royal Dutch Shell, Enel, Telefonica in Spain. But across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, we were able to work with these large clients. And at this point in time, I was probably a bit nervous, because now we were moving into the largest of the large, like the most important clients in terms of spend, in terms of relationships around the globe with the company that I was working for, which was a very large enterprise resource planning company that I think most people would know. It's a really large German company. And if you don't know it, just ask ChatGPT-4 and ChatGPT-4 will tell you about it. Anyway, so as I am now leading this team of highly specialized sales executives in this very strategic type of relationship with these clients, I realized that I guess I was probably ready, but I just didn't feel that I was prepared to sit in the rooms with these really important executives. And so I thought to myself, well, what can I do? I had mentors in the business, and one of my mentors, who is even a friend or a mentor to this day, was running the large emerging markets at the company that I was working for. So probably responsible for about half of the revenue that was coming into Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Was, I don't know how many billions of euros at the time. But I remember sitting down with him and having a conversation in one of our. It was every 6 months we had a meeting. Every once in a while we spoke every 3 months, but at this point in time, I was talking to him about this move that I was making from one leadership position to another leadership position into this very specific role. And so I sat down with him because I thought, man, now we're finally going to start working with these really strategic customers. The price list that we were going to be working with was like over 30,000 different products. And I'd been in the leadership and I started to understand more about our solutions and the things that we were selling, but there were so many things, and I wanted to lead this team in the most strategic clients. And so everything was piling up on everything. And I felt like I needed to understand and learn everything. And so I sat down with him and I was ready. And, I always went in with my pen and paper at the time and sat down and was ready to take notes. And so as I wanted to be able to really make this really massive positive impact and close the larger deals, because at the time we were closing like 5-figure deals. Sometimes we would have 6-figure deals every once in a while. But now that was moving into this specific area of the business, it was going to be like the multi-million euro type of opportunity. So I wanted to be closing those really large deals, having my team close those deals, be associated with those. And at the same time, like for me, what I really wanted to do was just feel confident that I was leading my team in the right direction and feeling prepared to sit down with these really large, important people as it related to the client relationships, people like some of the names that you would know. And so I guess part of the reason that I was feeling a little bit intimidated and even to reach out to my mentor was other managers that were around me at the time, like they were super technically sound, like they understood all of the solutions because they had already come from the field sales organization and they knew all the stuff on the price list, or at least that's what they portrayed. Like that's what I felt. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't, how am I going to sit in front of these most important clients and I still don't understand all the different solutions we're going to sell, blah, blah, blah. So I talked to my mentor at the time and told him about these, I wasn't prepared to have these technical conversations and, sitting down with these, really important CIOs, CTOs, some chief marketing officers, CMOs, CROs. And I just remember, I realized like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Cause I was starting to freak out, even though I'd just taken this promotion. And so fortunately I sat down with him and he sat down and he told me about, really how I needed to sit down and think about these conversations and think about them differently, because I was moving from a small and medium-sized enterprise to literally the most strategic type of clients that we had at the company that I worked for. And so he helped me to figure this out in a really simplified way. Like, and he mentioned to me, he said, Billy, no matter what happens, especially the more executive, the higher that you move up an organization, the simpler the conversation needs to become. And just like, I didn't understand anything. What? He's like, yeah, the higher you move up in the organization, the simpler the conversation needs to be, because you're going to be speaking with people that make massive decisions that impact their organizations every single day. And you need to deliver a message in a way that demonstrates that you understand what their issue is. You can challenge some of their thought process and also be able to provide them with some proposed solutions. And these solutions, they need to be focused on these 3 key areas. And now these are the types of transferable skills that I talk a lot about, that especially for those of you, because you're listening and you're watching and you're already in a corporate role and you're thinking, how do I even use the knowledge that I have outside? And this is a crystal clear example, because this is a framework that I used in corporate, and it is a framework that I still use to this day, working with and helping clients. And I'm going to give it to you so that you can also use it, implement it, or talk to me about it, right? So we sat down and he said, look, Billy, the conversations need to be around, once you give your solution, they have to focus on 3 key areas. First of all, you've got to help clients understand how you can help them make more revenue, right? How can you bring more money into what he called the top line of the organization? Bringing more money into the company, because the executives on the other side, especially, and this worked like brilliantly whenever I would speak to CEOs. There was 2 CEOs in particular. One was a family-owned company. The other one was it's a publicly traded company on the IBEX 35. But these companies, when I spoke to the CEOs, and these are companies that did 2 billion euros or more, and this framework works like clockwork, literally. So I'm sharing it with you. So number one, thinking about the top line or revenue that's coming into the company. The second thing has to do with the amount of money that's flowing out of the company. And usually you see this in the way that either they talk about inefficiencies, or they have to find synergies. And ultimately what that means is helping your client to understand the expense line. So specifically on the operating side of the expenses. So helping a company either talk about the revenue that's coming into the top, about the expenses that are going out, or also, and most importantly, is to look at how you can help them do things in a way that's going to help keep them out of jail, i.e. do it in a way that's compliant. And so I said, what? And he literally, like, went in and I was ready to write forever and ever. And he's like, yeah, you need to worry about, he explained it in 2 seconds. He's like, either you need to worry about explain to them the top line, you need to talk about their expenses, or compliance, right? As simple as that. And I thought to myself, okay, well, really, that's it? And so I gave a couple of examples, and I started talking about the some of the solutions, because I wanted to talk about solutions because that's what kept it simple. And I was like, yeah, well, so what if we want to help them sell CRM? And he's like, well, CRM, what specific solution? CRM, if you don't know, which you probably do because you're already watching and listening, is customer relationship management. That's the terminology we were using at the time. And so this was really, I gave him the example and he said, well, yeah, so if you want to be able to attract more clients, provide a better journey, ultimately that is for what reason? I said, well, so that you become a client. He said, yeah. So if they become a client, then what is happening? They're paying you money to be a client. So there's an exchange of currency, exchange of money. And so that's helping the top line. So that's the revenue point that he was talking about. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, this is simple. So I was actually thinking about it from one of those three buckets, either revenue, expenses, or compliance. And then it was about going out to put that into action. Now, of course, I fumbled and I got this wrong in the beginning because I was trying to put in a new skill or practice it. I went over and over and over. But the important part was I learned this framework. Now, the team that I was leading at the time, now we never closed multi-million-dollar or multi-million euro deals at the time, and the team got shut down relatively quickly. The thing that was really critical and as a personal growth for me that I'm sharing with you now is I learned this framework. And this framework, although the team didn't last very long and we never got to the multi-million euro deals that were planned that we thought we were going to do, this framework is one that I took away and I used it afterwards. And I moved into field sales and moved into roles where I was closing deals that were well into the 8 figures and 20 million, $25 million using this exact framework. So focusing on revenue, focusing on expenses, and also focusing on doing things in a compliant way so that the clients, so that you're able to, I'm talking to you about this specifically so that you can help to accelerate and make your side hustle successful. But this was also a transferable skill because I learned it during corporate. So I want to leave that with you because these are 3 proven areas that will make your side hustle successful, focusing on revenue, focusing on expenses, and also being able to focus on doing things in a compliant way. I'm sure I'll talk to you a lot more about this. There's some things that I'm going to do to actually break some of these down into the future or in the future. But for the moment, I just want to share these 3 proven areas that are going to make your side hustle successful. I would love to know how this is working for you. If this is something that's come across your mind, if there's something else that you've also thought about, great. Always feel free to share that in your honest written reviews. But as I've left this with you today, I want you to think about this. I want you to see how you can actually, what the service that you're offering today, the product that you're offering today in your side hustle, which one of these 3 areas are you helping your clients ultimately? What issue are you helping them solve? Is it one that's going to bring in more money to their company? Is it one that's going to take out unnecessary expenses from their company and or making sure that they're doing things in a way that will allow them to be compliant? Let me know. Would love to know. If you have this episode, somebody wants to hear it, needs to hear it, feel free to share it with them, talk to them about it. And once you're doing that, as you share that with others and you're talking about it, taking from theory to practice, I'm going to be here preparing for the next one of our episodes. And so until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Freedom! Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9-to-5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.